Hey there, friends! You did it! You got your drafts down, and that's a big accomplishment. Whether you drafted one or two or three chapters of your group's topic project that you're writing all about, you should feel proud of the work that you put forward. It is not easy to come up with these things, right? And you're putting your new unique voice into the world, which I think is just so special. Give yourselves a little pat on the back or something. Like, you've earned it. You did a lot of really hard work. And, sometimes when we're doing our hard work, depending on how we're doing that work, it looks harder for some people than others. So like, I was doing a little bit of this work, and I wrote down the stuff that I did in a draft. And I did it on this paper, and it looked pretty big. But then I went to type it up. And as you guys can see, it didn't turn out as large as I kind of thought it would. I was a little bit surprised. And so, if you're like me and you're maybe looking at your draft right now, or maybe you're looking back at any of your writing and you're thinking, oh, I kind of wish I could add a little bit more. Don't worry. I've got some help for you. Today, what I want to teach you is that information writers know that information writing is all about fitting pieces together. And there's a ton of different pieces that we can grab and insert into our chapters to teach even more about our topic. And all we have to do is think a little bit deeply about some of those new things to add a lot more if we feel like we don't have enough. I'm going to give you an example of a couple of things that you might consider adding to your stories your information pieces that maybe will make it a little bit bigger, make it seem like you're teaching even more. Some of the things that you could add are, you could add examples about your topic or comparisons of your topic to something else. You could add something about how a topic is shaped, or its color, or why what you're saying is important. That's a really nice one. You can add some steps. I did that a lot, like the steps of the life cycle, or maybe names or observations about your topic that you got from your pictures. Or you could add definitions or some tips or even numbers that are important or big for your particular topic. I did a couple of these in mine, but I thought maybe I could do a few more of these to add a little bit more to my piece. In my piece about penguin life cycle, I definitely did some stuff about tips. I feel like I have some things in here. Oh, well, I've got the color part, right? They get their gray feathers, and even some numbers, right? 5 months. So I've got a couple of things in here, but maybe I could use these to do a few more. Maybe I could try some of the things I've already tried. I could add a couple numbers. Well, one way I could do this is by first looking at my draft, or looking at a piece that I wanted to maybe make a little bit bigger, and asking myself, where could I add a little bit more information in? Well, I could add some information here about how the parents take care of the eggs, right? Maybe I could do a number. I could say how long. And so I might write a sentence like this one. The dad penguins protect the eggs for 64 days from the cold. Right? Like I knew that from my notes. And so I took a number and I thought, what's a sentence I could write about this? And I added it in. Maybe I could try this again. I could look at my piece first and ask, where could I do more? Or I could just look over here and think, like, which of these do I want to try? I'd love to try doing a comparison. Let me think. Well, one comparison that I could make is like, when these things peck their way out, these hatchlings, they look so gross. They look like the chickens that you see inside of a grocery store. And so I could do a sentence about that. Hatchlings, newly hatched birds, are really ugly. They have bodies that look like raw chickens you see in the grocery store. But don't worry, they get their feathers soon, and they look super cute with gray puffy feathers. And that's, I think, something that we could all do, right? Like, you could compare it to something else and bring that comparison in. And doesn't that make it sound like a little bit more like my piece? I love comparisons, and I think they're so fun. And maybe I could try one more. Maybe I could do this one that's about like, why is something important?
4 p.m. on Tuesday is really hard because
Maybe I could do that down here, like, why is it so important that they molt? I could say something like, this is important because their new feathers are better for splitting. Friends, do you see how this works? The things that information writers do all the time, these are the building blocks that we can use to add more and more to our pieces. And so today, you've looked and worked on your drafts. You worked hard. But if you want a little bit of an extra push, if you're somebody who looked at your draft and you're like, oh man, I just wish I had a little bit more, pause the screen. Look at a couple of these different options that you might use, and hey, use them in your piece. Try it out. You know, maybe it doesn't land the first time, but try a couple of them, try them in different places. Maybe you look at your piece first and you think, where could I add more? Or maybe you look at one of these options and you just pick one and you're like, oh, where can I put this in this piece? Regardless, you'll want to add a little bit more to your pieces today and your drafts. And if you've already done a little bit of drafting before today, maybe this isn't your first one, maybe you use this to revise your drafts. Maybe you can use this to add more to things that you thought you were done with already. So choose something today, friends. Get started with your writing and add as much as you can. See if you can make it even bolder and better than it was before. Happy writing, friends. Best of luck. I can't wait to see what they turn out to be.